Hi, this is Katrina from Katrina K Creations, and today I'm going to show you how to duplicate this ready-to-wear waistband so you never have to worry about your waistband rolling or wrinkling again. What I like about this waistband is instead of your standard 1.25 inch finished waistband, this one only measures 3/8 of an inch. And because of that, you don't have to worry about it rolling under your stomach or being all crushed and wrinkled. It fits nice and snug but comfortable around your waist. And I have several skirts with the same kind of waistband, and I have no complaints. Also, notice the back of the skirt at the center back. They don't have an overlap of your waistband. The two edges actually meet, and then it's held together in place with a hook and eye. So that's what we're going to also do for our waistband. So I want to show you how to duplicate this waistband on the skirts that you make. Before you make your waistband pattern, make sure you measure your skirt front and back at the waist, right on your stitching line, not including the insides of your darts. And just walk your tape measure around. And also make a note of where your side seam is, what measurement that is, so you can add your notches to your waistband. Our waistband is 3/8 of an inch finished, which means for our pattern piece, we need to double the 3/8. So it'll be 3/8 times 2, which is 3/4 of an inch. So the line that I've marked here in red is 3/4 of an inch long. The two longest lines that I've now highlighted in red are your total waist measurement divided by 2. If your total waist measurement is 36 inches, then the length of these lines need to be 18 inches because you're cutting your waistband on the fold. And at the other end of your waistband is your center back. So now we're going to add the seam allowances. Now the seam allowances I used are 3/8 of an inch. I've added my seam allowances. I'm going to change my original lines to stitching lines so you can see them a little better. The last thing you want to do is add your notches for your side seams. So now I've added my notches for my side seam, and this is the pattern piece for my waistband. So I've cut my waistband out and I've applied my interfacing as well. So what I want to do now is I want to finish one edge of my waistband, and I'm also going to finish the two ends on my serger, and I'm also going to press it lengthwise in half. And here's my mock-up skirt from my last video where I showed you how to apply your lining to your zipper without any hand stitching. So if you haven't seen that video, you can click the link and check it out. My skirt is basted at the waistline, so now I can handle both the skirt layer and the lining layer as one. I've also finished one edge of my waistband with my serger, or a zigzag stitch if you don't have a serger, and I've folded in half with the wrong sides together and pressed in my crease. Now I'm ready to attach my waistband to my skirt. I've turned my skirt right side out. I'm going to pin my waistband to my skirt right sides together, and I'm going to start at the center front. I'm going to match my notches at the center front. And then I'm going to match my side seam notches and continue to pin. And I'm going to leave it in a 3/8 of an inch extension for my seam allowance at my center back. So now my waistband is pinned to my skirt, right sides together. I have my 3/8 of an inch seam allowance extension on the back, because I'm going to make the ends meet just like the ready-to-wear skirt. And now I'm ready to sew my waistband to my skirt. So now that my waistband is attached the way I want it, I'm going to trim the seam allowance. And the reason I'm going to do that is because my waistband has to fold over, and I'm going to be pressing the seam allowance toward the waistband. And so I don't want that all bunched up under there. I want it to lay nice and flat. So I'm going to just trim some of my seam allowance, and I'm just comfortable with 3/8 of an inch. You could do your seam allowance at 1/4 of an inch, and then maybe you wouldn't have to trim anything off. And I'm not going to trim too much off. I want to, a nice size seam allowance. I just don't want as much as I have. So you're just trimming off a little. And then that way, when it folds over, of course I have to press it. It won't be all bunched up in there. So you're going to press, after you finish trimming, you're going to press your seam allowance toward your waistband. When I press my waistband, again, your seam allowance is pressed towards your waistband. When I press the seam, I want to be sure not to press my crease out here. I want to make sure that crease stays. So I'm just going to press right on the edge, right on the seam itself. Make sure I get it nice and flat. And then you'll be able to go back and really press that in place. So once your waistband is all pressed in place, now you want to do your ends at the center back. So just like you would do your normal waistband for your edges at the center, for your ends at the center back. This is the inside of my waistband. I'm going to fold it right sides together. And I'm going to pin that in place and stitch. Let me show you. This side I've already stitched. And as you can see, I stitched from this point up, and I left this free. So your serged edge is left free. And you can see on this side where my stitching stops. Once that's sewn in place, you're going to trim your seam allowance. So the center back where I had you serge down your center back of your waistband, you didn't have to do that because we're going to trim that off anyway. And so you're going to trim it and you're going to turn it right side out. And once you turn it right side out, before you press it, you're going to take that piece that you didn't stitch down and you're going to tuck it under. Tuck it under your waistband so that it's away from your zipper, so your zipper doesn't get caught. And then press your corner in place. Once your corner is pressed in place, now we're ready to stitch in the ditch, which means we're going to stitch very close to our seam line where our waistband is joined to our skirt. So now I've stitched my waistband in the ditch on the right side, right next to my seam that was created when I joined my waistband to my skirt. And of course you would use the same color thread, and this stitch would be very hard to see. On the inside, your waistband is stitched in place. And something I want to show you here, my waistband for some reason got a little uneven. So normally if this was a real skirt and not just a muslin, I would just go in and serge with my serger, just trim that off and make it even with the other side, because the outside is fine. This is the way my outside looks. I put my hook and eye on, and that's how you create a waistband that will never wrinkle or roll. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to my channel by clicking that bright yellow button, because there's more to come. Did you like this video? I hope you did, and you can let me know by giving it a thumbs up. If you have a question or comment, leave it down below, and thanks for watching.